Little Brother, Chapter 2. "I'm thinking of majoring in physics when I go to Berkeley," Darrell said. His dad taught at the University of California at Berkeley, which meant he'd get free tuition when he went. There'd never been any question in Darrell's household about whether he'd go. "Fine, but couldn't you research it online?" "My dad said I should read it. Besides, I didn't plan on committing any crimes today." "Skipping school isn't a crime, it's an infraction. They're totally different." "What are we going to do, Marcus?" "Well, I can't hide it, so I'm going to have to nuke it. Killing Arphids is a dark art. No merchant wants malicious customers going for a walk around the shop floor and leaving behind a bunch of lobotomized merchandise that is missing its invisible barcode. So the manufacturers have refused to implement a kill signal that you can radio to an Arphid to get it to switch off. You can reprogram Arphids with the right box, but I hate doing that to library books. It's not exactly tearing pages out of the book, but it's still bad, since a book with a reprogrammed Arphid can't be shelved and can't be found. It just becomes a needle in a haystack. That left me with only one option: nuking the thing. Literally. 30 seconds in a microwave will do in pretty much every Arphid on the market. And because the Arphid wouldn't answer at all when Dee checked it back in the library, they'd just print a fresh one for it and recode it with the book's catalog info, and it would end up clean and neat back on its shelf. All we needed was a microwave. "Give it another 2 minutes, and the teacher's lounge will be empty," I said. Darrell grabbed his book and headed for the door. "Forget it. No way. I'm going to class." I snagged his elbow and dragged him back. "Come on, Dee, easy now. It'll be fine." "The teacher's lounge? Maybe you weren't listening, Marcus. If I get busted just once more, I am expelled. You hear that? Expelled." "You won't get caught," I said. The one place a teacher wouldn't be after this period was the lounge. "We'll go in the back way." The lounge had a little kitchenette off to one side, with its own entrance for teachers who just wanted to pop in and get a cup of joe. The microwave, which always reeked of popcorn and spilled soup, was right in there, on top of the miniature fridge. Darrell groaned. I thought fast. "Look, the bell's already rung. If you go to study hall now, you'll get a late slip. Better not to show at all at this point. I can infiltrate and exfiltrate any room on this campus, Dee. You've seen me do it. I'll keep you safe." He groaned again. That was one of Darrell's tells. Once he starts groaning, he's ready to give in. "Let's roll," I said, and we took off. It was flawless. We skirted the classrooms, took the back stairs into the basement, and came up the front stairs right in front of the teacher's lounge. Not a sound came from the door, and I quietly turned the knob and dragged Darrell in before silently closing the door. The book just barely fit in the microwave, which was looking even less sanitary than it had the last time I'd popped in here to use it. I conscientiously wrapped it in paper towels before I set it down. "Man, teachers are pigs," I hissed. Darrell, white-faced and tense, said nothing. The Arphid died in a shower of sparks, which was really quite lovely, although not nearly as pretty as the effect you get when you nuke a frozen grape, which has to be seen to be believed. Now to exfiltrate the campus in perfect anonymity and make our escape. Darrell opened the door and began to move out, me on his heels. A second later, he was standing on my toes, elbows jammed into my chest as he tried to backpedal into the closet-sized kitchen we just left. "Get back!" he whispered urgently. "Quick, it's Charles!" Charles Walker and I don't get along. We're in the same grade, and we've known each other as long as I've known Darrell. But that's where the resemblance ends. Charles has always been big for his age, and now that he's playing football and on the juice, he's even bigger. He's got anger management problems. I lost a milk tooth to him in the 3rd grade, and he's managed to keep from getting in trouble over them by becoming the most active snitch in school. It's a bad combination. A bully who also snitches, taking great pleasure in going to the teachers with whatever infractions he's found. Benson loved Charles. Charles liked to let on that he had some kind of unspecified bladder problem, which gave him a ready-made excuse to prowl the hallways at Chavez, looking for people to think on. The last time Charles had caught some dirt on me had ended with me giving up LARPing. I had no intention of being caught by him again. "What's he doing?" "He's coming this way, that's what he's doing," Darrell said. "Okay, I said, okay, time for emergency countermeasures. I got my phone out. I'd planned this well in advance. Charles would never get me again. I emailed my server at home and got it into motion. A few seconds later, Charles's phone spazzed out spectacularly. I'd had tens of thousands of simultaneous random calls and text messages sent to it, causing every chirp and ring it had to go off and keep going off. The attack was accomplished by means of a botnet, and for that I felt bad, but it was in the service of a good cause. Botnets are where infected computers spend their afterlives. When you get a worm or a virus, your computer sends a message to a chat channel on IRC, the Internet Relay Chat. That message tells the botmaster, the guy who deployed the worm, that the computers in there are ready to do his bidding. Botnets are supremely powerful, since they can comprise thousands, even hundreds of thousands, of computers scattered all over the Internet, connected to juicy high-speed connections and running on fast home PCs. Those PCs normally function on behalf of their owners, but when the botmaster calls them, they rise, like zombies, to do his bidding. There are so many infected PCs on the Internet that the price of hiring an hour or two on a botnet has crashed. Mostly these things work for spammers as cheap, distributed spam bots, filling your mailbox with come-ons for pills or with new viruses that can infect you and recruit your machine to join the botnet. I just rented 10 seconds time on 3,000 PCs and had each of them send a text message or voice over IP call to Charles's phone, whose number I'd extracted from a sticky note on Benson's desk during one fateful office visit. Needless to say, Charles's phone was not equipped to handle this. First, the SMSs killed the memory on his phone, causing it to start choking on the routine operations it needed to do things, like manage the ringer and log all these incoming calls' bogus return numbers. Did you know it's really easy to fake the return number on caller ID? There are about 50 ways of doing it. Just Google spoof caller ID. Charles stared at it, dumbfounded, and jabbed at it furiously, his thick eyebrows nodding and wiggling as he struggled with the demons that had possessed his most personal devices. The plan was working so far, but he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing next. He was supposed to go find some place to sit down and try to figure out how to get his phone back. Daryl shook me by the shoulder, and I pulled my eye away from the crack in the door. "What's he doing?" Daryl whispered. I totaled his phone, but he's just staring at it now, instead of moving on. It wasn't going to be easy to reboot that thing. Once the memory was totally filled, it would have a hard time loading the code it needed to delete the bogus messages, and there was no bulk erase for texts on his phone. He'd have to manually delete all the thousands of messages. Daryl shoved me back and stuck his eye up to the door. A moment later, his shoulders started to shake. I got scared, thinking he was panicking, but when he pulled back, I saw that he was laughing so hard that tears were streaming down his cheeks. Elvez just totally busted him for being in the halls during class and having his phone out. You should have seen her tear into him. She was really enjoying it. We shook hands solemnly and snuck back out of the corridor, down the stairs, around the back, out the door, past the fence, and out into the glorious sunlight of afternoon in the Mission. Valencia Street had never looked so good. I checked my watch and yelped, "Let's move! The rest of the gang is meeting us at the cable cars in 20 minutes. Van spotted us first. She was blending in with a group of Korean tourists, which is one of her favorite ways of camouflaging herself when she's ditching school. Ever since the truancy moblog went live, our world is full of nosy shopkeepers and pecksniffs who take it upon themselves to snap our pickies just to put them on the net where they can be perused by school administrators. She came out of the crowd and bounded toward us. Daryl has had a thing for Van since forever, and she's sweet enough to pretend she doesn't know it. She gave me a hug and then moved on to Daryl, giving him a quick, sisterly kiss on the cheek that made him go red to the tops of his ears. The two of them made a funny pair. Daryl is a little on the heavy side, though he wears it well, and he's got kind of a pink complexion that goes red in the cheeks whenever he runs or gets excited. He's been able to grow a beard since we were 14, but thankfully he started shaving after a brief period known to our gang as the Lincoln years. And he's tall. Very, very tall. like basketball player tall. Meanwhile, Van is half a head shorter than me and skinny, with straight black hair that she wears in a crazy, elaborate braids that she researches on the net. She's got pretty coppery skin and dark eyes, and she loves big glass rings the size of radishes, which click and clack together when she dances.
Where's Jolu?
How are you, Van? Daryl asked in a choked voice. He always ran a step behind the conversation when it came to Van.
I'm great, Dee. How's your every little thing?
Oh, she was a bad person. Daryl nearly fainted. Holu saved him from social disgrace by showing up just then in an oversized leather baseball jacket, sharp sneakers, and a mesh back cap advertising our favorite Mexican masked wrestler, El Santo Jr. Holu is Jose Luis Torres, the completing member of our foursome. He went to a super strict Catholic school in outer Richmond, so it wasn't easy for him to get out, but he always did. No one exfiltrated like our Holu. He liked his jacket because it hung down low, which was pretty stylish in parts of the city, and covered up all his Catholic school crap, which was like a bullseye for nosy jerks with the truancy moblog bookmarked on their phones. Who's ready to go? I asked once we'd all said hello. I pulled out my phone and showed them the map I downloaded to it on the BART. Near as I can work out, we want to go up to the Nico again, then one block past it to O'Farrell, then left up toward Van Ness. Somewhere in there, we should find the wireless signal.